This is the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
What's up? Welcome into the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down Districts 5 and 6, week in, week out. Brandon Baney is always joined by Sean Kane, our East Idaho expert. Sean, what's up?
Well, what if I told you one of the greatest bands ever got back together this weekend is touring? You know the ESPN. What if I told you? Yeah,
the 30 for 30s.
Yeah. Blink 182 got back together and will be touring next year. So pretty excited.
Wow. Okay, I was wondering if it was actual news or if it was just a spoof you were doing. Like,
no. What if
the
I
band's
told
back
you?
together? You and I, you know.
And the guy who left, Tom DeLong, is back, and it's pretty exciting if you're an older middle-aged man and liked punk rock music. So there you go.
That's right. We talked about this. We talked about this it was either last week or the week before. They're all blending together now. But your Twitter handle, which you've prominently displayed on the screen for those that are watching the video version of this on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel or Facebook page. There's audio only as well, IdahoSports.com, and wherever you download your podcasts. I personally consume it audio only. I guess probably because I lived through the video experience, right? I see the video as we're recording it. So it's always nice to go back and listen to it. But your Twitter handle is at Sean Kane 182. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Easy.
That wasn't a very good job of setting you up because you were like, how do I respond to that? That's not being a very good host.
Yes,
on
that
my
is
part.
Correct. Thank you. Next question. No.
As usual, you are carrying the slack here in the early going. Let's dive into it because holy crap, man, there's been a lot going on. We had state golf last week, the 5A and 4A state championships for fall golf, first time ever. East Idaho got to host. Rexburg hosted the 5A. Idaho Falls hosted the 4A. I think we have to start with the 5A boys because what an exciting finish to the competition from our individual medalist, Ashton McArthur from Madison.
Yeah, amazing. And, Madison took second overall in boys, and Ashton McArthur hit one of the shots that is for the ages, and I'm sure you're going to pull it up, but it's it's unreal. I have to give a shout out credit to Ryan Frost, the assistant Century golf coach. He showed me, and I'm like, he's like, oh, this guy hit this great putt, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, it's great. It's like one of those moments you won't see very often. It's a 30 foot plus putt, and it bends crazy. And not only is it that, it's the last hole, he hits this, he wins. Good night. Pretty amazing, pretty big. It's like a top 10 ESPN for sure if that got out there. But yeah, Ashton McArthur hit an amazing putt to win state golf for Madison individually.
And he's got a Wheaton Ennis of Eagle bearing down on him. Ennis is a kid that won state as a freshman, and then I believe took second as a sophomore, and now is in his junior season. And so you've got a guy who's won state before at the 5A level at a young age, bearing down on you essentially. And like you said, it came down to the final hole. Ashton McArthur from 30 feet out, something
forever.
Like that. Yeah, it was
forever.
It was seriously. It was. So this is on, and I'm going to share it on my screen. So if you're watching the video version of this podcast, you'll be able to see it as I share my screen. Maybe make your video screen full size so you can see it a little better. If you're listening to the podcast audio only, I'm grabbing this from Ashton's Instagram account. You can find that at Ashton McArthur 5. But check this out. I'm going to share it, and here's the photo of him, celebrating the championship win. There he is, a nice sentimental hug after it was done. Here he is signing the green, as the champion does. And then here's the shot that Sean was talking about. Check this out.
And watch the guy's left leg, because that's where you see it bend. The guy in the black shirt.
I mean, look at the hook on that. And then here's my favorite part.
The crowd.
The chest bump. How awesome was that? Seriously. There's professional golfers that don't make that putt.
No. And everyone's just, it's just crazy. And then even the crazy thing to look back is Wheaton Enos, first round, he shoots a 64. You got to think, I shoot a 64, I'm going to win this thing. And then Ashton McArthur comes back on the second day and shoots a 62. So, I mean, what a crazy finish in the 5A golf boys tournament. Just amazing stuff up there.
Yeah, and MacArthur had 3 eagles on day 2 as well, which helped propel him to the title. I mean, it was incredible to watch. Other Idaho boys that finished in the top 10 in the 5A, Justin Anderson of Thunder Ridge and Seth Floyd of Highland actually tied for 5th place. They were both 2 strokes over par. So congratulations to both of those guys as well. I know Justin Anderson, especially for Thunder Ridge, had a really nice regular season, and it was nice to see him finish strong at state. On the 5A girls side, Rocky Mountain wins the team title. Mountain View and Boise take second and third, so it's kind of a Treasure Valley sweep. Boring. Individually, though.
Highland came in 8th.
Yes. This was a Treasure Valley thing on the 5A girls side, certainly. When you look at what happened in the top 10 from East Idaho, you had Megan Quinton of Madison, who took 7th overall. So nicely done there on the girls' side as well. Boys, 4A. This was in Idaho Falls. What an incredible... This was, to me, if Ashton and MacArthur sinking that putt was the top story, this was easily the second, where Nate Nelson from Shelley ends up tying with Dallas Jackson of Bishop Kelly for first place. It goes to the tiebreaker, and Nelson gets the win. So Nate Nelson of Shelley, this is a guy that we've seen up close, Sean. He quarterbacks the Shelley football team. He also now is your 4A individual champ in golf.
It was a little bit of a week for him.
Yeah.
You Friday night, you go in, you score the winning touchdown against Pocatello High School on a 4th and something. They had no more timeouts. They go in. We talked about this last week. He scores the touchdown. I heard that he wasn't even going to play golf, and someone broke their arm, and they're like, hey, come play golf. And that's why he played golf. That's kind of the side story there. They're like, oh, someone broke their arm. You want to come play golf? Because a lot of the other guys on the football team play golf too. And so he's like, okay, yeah, I'll just go win state.
Yeah, because Nate had golfed when it was in the spring, but as the starting quarterback for a football team, obviously, it's asking a lot to pull your quarterback out of practice to golf, right? But credit to Shelley. They've been really cool about it. 4 of the 5 members of Shelley's golf team also play football. So, that's an example of a school making it work and saying, yeah, you know what? This is a new wrinkle, but we want to give our kids as many opportunities as possible. And look how it turns out for Nate Nelson. Yeah, he scored the game-winning touchdown with 5 seconds left against Pokey last week, leads Shelley to another big win over Idaho Falls on Friday. So he must have golfed on Friday afternoon, played in the game Friday night at Ravston Stadium, right? Fortunately, It was a game in Idaho Falls, and then gone back on Saturday and cleaned up. What a weekend.
Yeah, and they had to play a playoff hole. I can't remember which one it was to finish that out. It was pretty exciting. I think 3rd and 4th was tied as well too, and they had to play out. And then maybe 5th and 6th too. But like all the places, I was informed that they had to play them out. So like first place you play a hole out. Like for 3rd place they just look and they pick a hole and go whoever did the best on the hole. But like everyone in 4A boys, it was like a tie, a parlay, or whatever. They had to go to all the rules to sort out that 1 through 4.
Yeah. So yes, if it's deciding a championship, they'll go to a playoff hole. If it's anything lower than that, or if it's regular season, sometimes to save time, they'll go to what's called the card off, which is, they pick, okay, on hole 7, who performed better. And that's kind of how they determine it. So you're right. There was a lot of really good golfers all clumped together. Alex Louie of Idaho Falls took 4th overall. You had also Henry Hyam, Nate Nelson's Shelley teammate, take 9th place in the top 10 as well. So way to go, all of our East Idaho boys golfers. On the girls side, Twin Falls 1, Bishop Kelly 2, Sandpoint 3. So no East Idaho teams there, but Lauren Assad from Century takes 2nd overall, which was really impressive. She beat out Haley Cole of Skyline by 1 stroke for 3rd place.
Yeah, she's a great golfer. She's worked hard all season. She just runs into what everyone is telling me is maybe the best golfer in all the divisions and Ava Schroeder of Twin Falls. The guys will tell me this. Everyone says she's probably one of the best golfers, just period, in the state of Idaho, and she just happened to be in the division. But Lauren just played great. She's just steady, and what a great finish. She took third last year, and then the move up one more year, her senior year, to second place is just great. And I don't think anyone could be more proud of her. She was +5 and Schroeder was -11. So she's a good golfer and a soccer player.
Yes, Ava Schroeder also plays soccer for Twin Falls, a team that's looking to get back to state and defend their 4A title there. So she could be double dipping in the championships like Nate Nelson is hoping to do for Shelley on the gridiron. Ava Schroeder, you want to know how good of a golfer she is from Twin Falls. This sums it up the best. 5A, 4A, boys, girls, didn't matter. Ava Schroeder led the way on the weekend with 15 birdies, which is just incredible, right?
Wow. Yeah, it's unreal. She's like, in fact, it was a male tennis soccer player who goes, this Ava Schroeder is so good. He's the one updating me through some text messages, and I'm like, what? And then I checked it out, and I'm like, that's a lot of birdies. So yeah. Congrats to her.
Pretty legit for sure. But Lauren Assad of Century second, Haley from Skyline ends up taking third. So congratulations to the ladies there. All right, let's turn our attention now to postseason soccer, Sean. There are some bids that have already been clinched to state. So let's start with the 3A classification, because that's where, the earliest, the very first team to clinch a bid to state on either side was American Falls. And so let's start there. The beat goes on for the Beavers. Let's take a look at the 3A District 5 bracket on the girls' side. And again, I'm sharing my screen, so those of you watching on the video version of this can follow along. Those of you that are listening audio only, you're in luck. We've got all the district brackets on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. You just go there and you can follow along that way as you're listening. But American Falls girls defeat Marsh Valley 5-3 in the championship match. This was actually all the way back on Saturday. Like I said, American Falls was the first team to clinch. They now advance to state, and in a bit of an upset, Snake River, the 3 seed, upset Marsh Valley, the 2 seed. And now it's Snake River who's got a chance to get to state as well via a play-in match. They will play the second place team from District 3, which is still yet to be determined.
Yeah, great job. And as we're probably going to look at is American Falls swept. So the girls won, and then the boys also won it. So they won 3-1, but that was Monday, so that wasn't as far. But that was the second one, I think, to finish that I'm aware of.
Yes, it was. It was the American Falls girls, followed by the American girls boys, or American Falls American girl. That's a doll company. American Falls girls, and then the American Falls boy. Can you tell it's been a long day, Sean?
I got you. We're good.
Everyone was picking up what I was putting down. American Falls right now would be the 4 seed going into state, where we, assume Sugar Salem, Coeur d'Alene Charter, and Sun Valley are all going to get there. They all went undefeated in the regular season. So American Falls would be the 4 seed, which I don't know. It's this of all the soccer tournaments, I think the 3A girls is the most wide open. Like any of the 8 teams that get there, I think are capable of going on a run. So good luck to the Beavers. We'll see how they do. Quick programming note. Next week, Sean, we like to do these live preview shows before state tournament action. And so next Tuesday night at 7:00 live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account, Christian Wiener and I will be breaking down the soccer brackets for state. We'll go through all the boys brackets, all the girls brackets. Of course, we want the fans to come on and interact, give a shout out to your favorite team, favorite player, ask us a question, whatever it is. So that'll be live next Tuesday night. I'll also drop that preview show into the podcast feed of the East Idaho Prepcast in case people can't make it live. But it's going to be really exciting. We're going to break down all the soccer brackets next week live Tuesday night, 7:00. So should be a good time, Sean.
Yeah, not like you didn't have enough to do, right?
I'm trying to give the people as much as they can, or as much as I can.
What did you say Tuesday night? Because Tuesday night's going to be a bunch of district volleyball games too. So you'll be busy.
Yes, for sure. We're going to table the volleyball discussion until next week when districts really get going. But yes, we'll take a look at all the district brackets next week for volleyball. Let's look at the 3A District 5 boys. where it was American Falls clinching over Marsh Valley on Monday, 3-1, the final. You might be asking, well, how come the girls were able to clinch so early? They have 5 teams in their district. The boys only have 4. So it kind of accelerated the schedule for the girls a little bit, and that's why American Falls clinched so early on the girls' side. American Falls boys, they'll beat Marsh Valley 3-1, and now Marsh Valley gets the chance to get to state via a play-in match. They will take on either Sugar Salem or Teton, as we'll take a look at in the next bracket. But either way, that's going to be a tough task for Marsh Valley. That's going to be a tall order.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. But good luck to them. They will play on Saturday in Blackfoot in that state play-in match. We talked about District 6, the championship matchup. As we're recording this, it is Wednesday night, the 12th. Sugar Salem and Teton were playing this afternoon for the district title. Let me do some sleuthing and see if I can figure out. This is the fun part of recording during the week when these district games are going on. Sometimes, things are happening in real time. But either way, Sugar Salem and Teton, I expect to both be at state. They both played for the championship last year. And like we said, the loser of this game would play Marsh Valley in that state play-in match on Saturday.
And then girls 3A is the same matchup, right?
Yes.
Sugar Salem, Teton.
Also, Sugar Salem and Teton. You are correct.
And that happened today as well. So
yes, here's the boys bracket, right? Same deal. Sugar Salem and Teton. This is actually the girls bracket. I was showing you the boys, but the matchups are the same.
It's the same.
The girls played at 2:00. The boys played at 4:00.
Okay.
Again, I'm kind of just vamping for time here to try and check and see if those final scores are located anywhere. Doesn't look like it yet. Okay. So, but either way, on the girls' side as well, we anticipate that Teton and Sugar are both really talented teams and both should get to state there. Let's go to District 4. Let's start with District 5 because those are matchups that are coming up most immediately. On the girls' side, you've got Century and Pocatello playing for the district championship. 1:00 on the bracket. Is that right, Sean? You're my Century guy.
Yeah. So what's gonna happen tomorrow is the girls are gonna play at Century at 1, and then after that game, the boys are gonna play Pokey at 1 at Century too. So
or at 4:00 I've got
for the
like
boy,
a doubleheader, right?
Yeah, doubleheader. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yep. So the girls will be first, then the boys. It's a doubleheader. Century is the 2 seed. They get to host though because they already beat Pokey 2-1. Pokey had to battle through and beat Preston on Tuesday night 2-0 on the girls' side. I don't know, Sean. Flip a coin. Century and Pocatello girls. It's been pretty even throughout the year.
When I talk to people in District 5, and that's all the coaches in District 5, it's can you beat a team 10 times, right? Because that's what we have to do. If you're Pokey, if you're Century or you're Preston, you've got to beat pretty much a team multiple times, and that it is a coin flip. Because if you play someone 10 times, you're probably going to beat them once. You're just hoping that time's not on the day you play. So yeah, I think Century's got a lot of that's a big win coming in the district play to beat them. But Pocatello is a good team. They're a strong team. They've beaten some big opponents this year. They took care of business against Preston. I drove by it yesterday. There's tons of people. It was pretty exciting, and they're ready to go. They hadn't been to state in a long time until last year. So you've got some girls that know what it takes on the Pokey side to do that, and then you've just got a really hungry Century team. So it'll be I could see penalty kicks.
Well, and every coach hates that. So they played twice in the regular season. The third time was right here in the undefeated semifinal. This will be the 4th matchup. If Pocatello wins, Pokey's got to win twice. That's the key here. It's a true double elimination. So if Pokey wins, they would play for the 5th time on Saturday at 11 a.m. I can't even fathom that. But
luckily we have max preps, right? So they wouldn't play. I know only one team makes it, but say we got another bid, would it be the 8th, 10th time at state? Luckily, we have that in place. There's some good things that we're moving forward a little bit progressively here, but
that doesn't always guarantee that
true.
You're not going to play
what
a
the
conference,
rank,
right?
Your ranking, yeah.
Yeah.
I spoke too soon.
No, that's all right, though. It is definitely a better system, and we'll talk more about Mex Preps when we get to our football talk for sure. Boys matchup, same story, right? Century playing Pocatello. How about this undefeated semifinal game? It ends up a 1-1 draw after 2 overtime periods. It's got to go to penalty kicks. Century wins 3-0 on the PKs. So now you got Century playing Pocatello again. Same scenario. Pokey's got to win twice to get that one bid to state. Century only has to win the one match.
Yeah, Century has a freshman boy on his team, and I saw him in the hall, and I'm like, why don't you score why you haven't been scoring any goals? And I was giving him a hard time, right? And he scored that third goal in the PKs to win the game. So he let me have it, Fernando. So yeah, congrats to him. But that again, Pokey's a good team, Century's a good team. I could see it going to penalty kicks. Century beat him in the regular season, I believe 5-0 at 1.2, but I don't know. When you play a team, they all know each other. They play club soccer. They hang out at the same, McDonald's. When you play that team so many times, it kind of goes up in the air.
Yeah, I was going to ask how that crow tasted. How'd that crow taste after you called out
wonderful
Fernando?
Yeah.
Tasted wonderful, right? All right, let's go to the High Country Conference. Let's start with the girls' side of the bracket. The championship is set. That will be on Thursday as well. 1 versus 2, Bonneville and Skyline. They had their semifinals last night. And how about right out of the gates, Blackfoot, the 6th seed, knocking off the 3 seed, Idaho Falls, 1-0 in the opening round. And that is a single elimination contest. So the Tigers had a pretty good regular season, but one bad match and they're donezo. So Blackfoot moves in. Skyline last night is playing Shelley in the semifinals. It's a 0-0 game through the 2 overtimes. It's got to go to penalty kicks, and Skyline escapes 3-2 in PKs. So now here's the key. Bonneville plays Skyline. The winner of that automatically gets to go to state. There is a second bid up for grabs. Whoever wins between Blackfoot and Shelley on Thursday will get to challenge the loser of Bonneville and Skyline. So there's a lot still to sort out in District 6.
Yeah, and a lot of information points to Shelley's a really, really good team too in the girls' side, and you kind of can't sleep on them. 4th seed. You have a big conference. It doesn't. Whatever happens. So I think that that match 6, Blackfoot Shelley's a pretty interesting game. Both teams are going to be fighting for their lives. That's going to be a fun ending tournament for sure.
Yeah, and I kind of like Shelley there over Blackfoot. And if Shelley gets Skyline again after they just battled them so closely, if you're a Russet fan, you got to be feeling pretty good about your chance. You got to get there, of course. And Bonneville, I think, is still the strongest team. Those Bees, the Bee girls, have had such a great regular season, but we'll see how it goes. That's on Thursday as well. On the boys' side, kind of all chalk. Shelley beat Skyline, the 4 over the 5 in the play-in match Saturday. Hillcrest, the 3 seed, beat Bonneville, the 6. And then, Idaho Falls looks so strong. They beat Shelley 7-0 last night. They put up a touchdown. Blackfoot slipped by Hillcrest 2-1. So now you've got Idaho Falls and Blackfoot playing on Thursday for the district title. Shelley and Hillcrest will meet up in that loser out game, and then same as the girls, the winner of Shelley and Hillcrest will get to challenge the loser of Idaho Falls and Blackfoot. But man, the Tigers and head coach Ryan Cook, they've had a really nice season.
Yeah, from all my information, Idaho Falls is just a really, really good team. Blackfoot is always a solid team. They have a tendency to find a way to win that district no matter what seed they're at. If you kind of just look back, Blackfoot's always competing for a district title in that district. And then, Hillcrest, who moves down, they're also a really, really good team. People are saying, I think they had a couple of good matches against Idaho Falls as well too, but you've got 3 really good teams, and I'm not taking any away from Shelley either, but you just got too many horses in the stable, and everyone's got to eat.
Yeah, and so, we talked about Idaho Falls, being in it was really close, that top 3. You're right. In the regular season, Idaho Falls, Blackfoot, and Hillcrest. Idaho Falls and Blackfoot actually tied.
Yeah, I knew one of them tied, yeah.
Yeah, they tied for the league title, and they beat each other. They both split. So then you start looking, okay, well, who was the third best team? That was Hillcrest. Idaho Falls swept Hillcrest. Blackfoot tied with Hillcrest or split with Hillcrest or something. So that's how Idaho Falls got the 1 seed. So yes, Idaho Falls, Blackfoot, Hillcrest, all three very evenly matched. Shelley, can't count them out either. They just don't have the depth as those other teams, but Shelley's got some good individual players as well. And now let's wrap up with 5A, District 5-6. Let's start on the girls' side, where the Highland Rams are your district champions once again, headed to state. Madison and Thunder Ridge will play tomorrow for the chance to take on Owyhee in a state play-in match. I'll tell you, whoever gets out of that Madison Thunder Ridge match, I really like their chances against Owyhee to get to state.
Yeah, I agree. They're two just solid teams, and I think we kind of talked about this before. You just have you just have really good teams, and they're going to go up there. They're going to compete, and I like their chances coming away with a state bid there.
Yeah, when you look at Highland and where they finish in terms of Max Prep's rankings, they would be the 6th seed currently. Could move up to 5 if Centennial were to lose their play-in match against Coeur d'Alene. But either way, Highland is going to be a lower seed in the tournament, and if Madison or Thunder Ridge got in, they would both be a 7 or an 8 seed as well. So. As we learned last year, the seed doesn't mean everything, right? There were a couple 1 seeds that got upset in the first round, but way to go, Highland. They've really,
and Highland, Savannah Rose, the head coach, it's her first year. So first year district championship, can't complain too much.
They've really put together, and the previous coach, Coach Vaughn, really laid the groundwork for, Highland's pretty much getting to state like every year now. It's kind of you can set your watch by it. And they've done a really nice job of building the soccer program at Highland. And again, Madison Thunder Ridge should be a pretty good matchup. Madison did beat Thunder earlier in the tournament 2-1. It was a very tight match. So good luck to both of those teams. And then 5-6 boys, Thunder Ridge, your champions. No surprise. The Titans undefeated in the regular season, right? They had a draw, but outside of that, no losses. They beat Madison 5-1 in the district title match last night. So Thunder Ridge moving on to state. Madison will play Rigby. Rigby, the 4 seed, knocked out Highland last night, 1-0. The winner of that match will advance to play the 5th place team from Boise. So we'll see.
Yeah, and Thunder Ridge, I think Thunder Ridge has aspirations to win state, place at state. That's the kind of team Thunder Ridge is this year. So it'll be exciting to see how they do up at the state tournament.
Yeah, Thunder Ridge will be the 3 seed at state. Timberline will be 1, Boise will be 2, and Thunder Ridge will be the 3 seed. So good luck to the Titans as they make their state soccer preparations as well. So that's where we're at with soccer. Pretty much everything's going to be decided by Saturday. There'll be a couple of play-in matches, and we'll know the field, Saturday night, and we'll break it all down for you on that live preview show next Tuesday at 7:00. All right, let's wrap up with football, Sean. Let's get to it. I don't even remember what I sent you on the rundown. I'm going to kind of let you lead the segment here. I know there was a couple of games we wanted to highlight and then preview some matchups.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to have to probably start in the 5A division with Highland versus Rigby, the game me and you were at, and maybe one of the better games we've ever seen here in Idaho. It's an instant classic, generic term, but Highland down by 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, comes back to beat Rigby 43-42. And I mean, there's so much happened in that game. We'd almost need a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, I mean, Rigby scores 5 seconds into the 4th quarter. They're up 42-21. They don't score again. Highland rattles off 22 unanswered points. Really, it came down to, on the last possession, Highland was down 7. Rigby sent a safety blitz. Highland read it, diagnosed it, got off a pass. Drew Hymas did, kind of lobbed it like a jump shot over like 3 Rigby defenders. Ridge Barella was there for the catch. And Nick Sorrell, Highland head coach, knew all along that they were going to go for 2 because he could sense it, right? You could tell Rigby was on their heels. They were gassed a little. He seized the moment. They line up for 2. Rigby is kind of caught flat-footed. They don't defend Ridge Barella in the flat, so Hymas throws it to Barella for an easy 2-point conversion, and that ends up being the game.
Yeah, they're lined up in this compact formation, right? Looking like a run or something. And as fast as he could snap it, was as fast as he could throw it to Hymas could throw it to Rich Barella for that 2-point conversion. And it was a great game. And, with that being said, Rigby's still really good team. Their offense is super good. I would not be surprised, in talking to some other football coaches this week, if we saw a Rigby Highland rematch later on this year. I would not be surprised, Brandon.
Yes. And so Rigby is the team that's now 0-1 in conference. Highland is 1-0. Madison, of course, is still undefeated in league play as well. I really do think it's going to be Highland and Rigby are going to be the two teams that get the auto bids to state. And Madison, that's just, I just don't know, because their level of competition has not been as strong as Highlands and Rigby's, if I'm being honest. Madison's put up a nice record. But it's kind of like last year with Idaho Falls, right? Idaho Falls had this great record, but to get an at-large bid to the playoffs, it's only how you did against other 5A schools, and Madison just doesn't have the capital there.
And Madison lost to Hawaii right at the first of the season. I think that's going to be might be the reason they don't get in.
Yeah, that's going to be a really hard one to overcome for Madison. Of course, Madison can still play their way in. They play Highland and Rigby. So, they knocked off Rigby last year. If that happened, Rigby would really be in trouble. Because you're competing against, probably 4 or 5 other teams for 2 at-large playoff spots. So I think it's really going to be Rigby and Highland at the end of the day, though. And if I'm wrong, Madison fans, let me have it. I'd love to wear it, but I just think it's Highland and Rigby for sure. What else did we have? What happened in 4A, Sean?
We had, kind of the big matchup was Skyline versus Blackfoot. Skyline came away with a 28-21 win. But I think the best part of this win is, what's the thing from Waterboy? We've got to have them play every position, right? They got to, it's the end of the game. You got to do everything. And, they put in Kenyon Sadiq as a cover, a cornerback at the end of the game. He really hasn't played cornerback. And who's he covering, right? Javante King from Blackfoot gets an interception and runs that back for a touchdown, which is essentially the game.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super interesting. We're gonna put everyone in. We're gonna put him in. He hasn't. And going back and watching that, man, if he doesn't make it as a receiver, Sadiq could definitely be a cover cornerback, like the guy you put on the best player.
Yeah, Skyline did that last year in the playoffs. I remember, especially against Pocatello when they played Pokey in the semifinals. They put Sadiq out there to guard Julian Bowie, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And, but Bowie got him once, but overall, Sadiq and Skyline ultimately won the matchup. So yes, they do that occasionally. You are correct. So Skyline wins 28-21 over Blackfoot. Shelley wins over Idaho Falls 28-7. And so now, these two are on this collision course, right? They're both undefeated in conference play, and it's all gonna come to a head.
Yep. You're saying Shelley and Skyline, right?
Yes, Shelley and Skyline.
Yeah, you've got 2 very contrasting styles of play. You've got Shelley and a wing T running pretty much all offense, and you've got Shelley then you've got Skyline who can run it and likes to go to the air. And I think it comes down to defense and maybe turnovers. Who's gonna play the better defense and cover those guys. But I think Shelley's really hard to stop. I think you could stop him for like 2 quarters. But can you stop them for 4 quarters? I think that's been the thing teams have had to answer.
Yeah, definitely. And so the key is now they've each got one more hurdle to clear, right? Skyline and Shelley are going to play in the regular season finale. It's a game that we will have for you on IdahoSports.com. Skyline's got to get past Bonneville. Shelley's got to play Hillcrest. Hillcrest has been a team that's been very competitive, even though, they're 3-4, sub 500. They've been in just about every game they've played this year. And boy, what a game between Hillcrest and Bonneville in the annual Civil War, right?
Yeah. Another kind of instant classic, right? You have a normal football score, 14-16 Hillcrest wins. And you'll have to remind me on what happened there.
Yeah, so Hillcrest is down 14-7 in the fourth quarter. Braden Crystal scores on a short touchdown run. Thomas Ensley is on for the extra point, but it's no good. And so Bonneville is still leading 14-13. Knights get the ball back with like a little over a minute to play. They march down the field and they set up Ensley for a chance to atone for the extra point. And he delivered with 11 seconds to play. He drills a 27-yard field goal. Hillcrest gets the win 16-14 over Bonneville. Now, both of these teams are still projected to make the playoffs because of their Max Preps rankings. Now, Hillcrest is going to be a mid-teens seed. Bonneville might be like the last seed, 16 overall. But, at this point, they're both comfortably into the. In fact, every team from District 6 would be in the playoffs if it started today because of the strength and quality of the league. How crazy is that?
It's just kind of hard to imagine. And like you said, Hillcrest has Shelley next. That's a big game. And, it'll be interesting. I think, Hillcrest, Idaho Falls is always a big rivalry game, and that's the end of the year. And Idaho Falls is kind of has some ups and downs, and that could be an interesting game when we, in 2 weeks, Idaho Falls and Hillcrest. That kind of that might be a playoff spot. It might be, who knows at this point.
Top to bottom, District 6, by far the most competitive top to bottom district in the state this year. Let's go to District 5, where you've got Century, Preston, and Pokey. This 3-team round robin that's unfolding over the last 3 weeks of the regular season. First domino fell Friday. Century gets the win over Preston, and so now Preston and Pocatello will play Friday night. If Pokey wins there, it all sets up for Century Pokey, the crosstown clash in the final week of the regular season. Basically, Pokey is set in terms of getting an at-large bid. If they don't win the district, Century's got to win Century and or Preston have to win the district to get in. Yeah,
Century and Ryan Fleshman, they've got a new group. They've been working really hard, and they came out and they took care of business against Preston and were able to come away with a win. And and it's and then Preston and Pokey are going to play this week. And even though Pokey didn't play this week, they did have some kind of cool news. Ryko Echohawk got an offer from ISU, so that was even though they didn't play, they had a little news there. But yeah, I mean, you would assume Pocatello beats Preston. I don't know if I assume anything right now with the 3-team thing. You would assume Pocatello beats Preston, and it's Pocatello Century. And at the start of the season, I would have said Pocatello is going to win this division easy. But man, I don't know. Any given day, you go out there and you compete, and there's a lot of things, and each team faces its own adversities at the end of the year.
Yeah, I sent a couple emails out trying to figure out, what happens if all 3 teams do tie? What happens in that scenario? No,
I was talking to the coaches about that. They're like, okay, so we beat Preston. Now, what if Preston beats Pokey and then Pokey beats us? What do we do? It's probably like a ping pong ball or something.
I'm going to put you on that, Sean. Maybe you can find out, because nobody got back to me. I tried to find out, but
they don't want to answer that question.
Right.
I will ask, because that was a scenario. They're like, what if this happens and this? And I'm like, I didn't even think about that, but
could be a moot point. Our good
friend, maybe they have that Kansas City playoff thing, but as far as I know, we don't. So
yeah,
where you go and play that. As far as I know, we don't have that in our district. So yeah, I'll find out.
I guess, I'm trying to look at, you could go off of point differential, possibly in the 3 games, who had the best point differential. Sometimes they do common opponent. I don't know that all 3 of these teams had a common opponent though. Right.
Preston didn't play Highland, right? So.
No. I'm looking at Preston's schedule, and yeah, they played Burley. Nobody played, Pocatello didn't play Burley. Yeah, I don't think there is a common opponent. So
no,
my educated guess is going to be that it's going to come down to like a point differential amongst the 3. So Century winning by the margin they did already.
That helps.
It definitely gives them an edge, certainly. So yes, I know good friend of the program, Dan Hubbard from KACH Radio in Preston. He sent me a message on Twitter, and I did not message him back. Sorry about that, Dan. Things got away from me. But he was trying to figure it out as well. So I don't know. A lot of questions. And
he should know. Right?
Yeah,
he should know.
he asked me, and I was.
He's been here longer than any of us. He should know. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I'll find out. I bet you I can find out tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. That'll be really good to find out. So that's what's going on at 4A. Let's talk 3A, where, well, we're going to do this big game on Friday night, Sean. This is going to be East Idaho game night. It's going to be Sugar Salem hosting Teton, and we kind of thought coming in, all right, this is going to be a battle of unbeatens for the conference title. And then South Fremont was like, hey, don't forget about us. They get a 28-26 win over Teton in a game that kind of comes down to extra points and 2-point conversions and stuff like that. It was a very nice win for South Fremont. I mean, no matter what happens, all three of those teams are easily into the playoffs, but the district champion gets a top 5 seed and potentially, if it's Sugar, a bye in the first round. So the 5 district champs get first round buys, or excuse me, get the top 5 seeds. And then the top 2 teams get first round buys. So there's a lot on the line for Sugar over these last 2 weeks.
Yeah. You've just got a lot of good teams, right? South Fremont had Bryce Johnson, who had an outstanding game against Teton. He's 7 for 10, 117 yards, TD passing. He rushed 26 times for 159 yards. So they just had some outstanding performances. It's a close game. You kind of thought Teton. The reason I thought Teton would win is because Teton beat Snake River, and then Snake River beat South Fremont. That was the comparable I was going by. Right. And then, and Teton beat Snake River pretty handedly. And so that's what I kind of thought. Okay, Teton will go in here and take care of business, but South Fremont, they're not a bad team either. North Fremont, you got 2 names in your title, like Sugar Salem, North, you got 2 names in your high school. You're a pretty good football team.
Right. It's a good rule, except, Thunder Ridge has had a tough time this year, right?
West Side's
another good one for sure.
2 names in the smaller division. I'm not.
Yes.
Yeah.
5A, 4A doesn't apply. Okay. We'll get to West Side in a second. I thought the most impressive thing for South Fremont was okay. So Teton scores. They're down 28-20. They get a touchdown. Jack Nelson, who's a great quarterback, throws this 55-yard bomb to Ashton McArthur. Teton's got to get the 2-point conversion. They don't. South Fremont bats it away. It's an incomplete pass. There's still 5:37 on the clock. So Teton, of course, is going to kick deep. They never got the ball back. South Fremont was able to run the clock out with 5:37 remaining. That to me was the most impressive thing from the win.
Yeah, and that's something that that doesn't really come up on a stat, right? But if you're able to do that, people that know football know that's why you won the game, and that's clock control. When you get into playoffs, the teams that can control the clock and run the ball and do things like that, they win. They're the state championships. They know how to manage their time and players, and that's the difference maker for sure.
Yeah, so very excited to see Teton and Sugar Salem Friday night on IdahoSports.com. You and I and Joel Richardson will be there on the call, Sean, to broadcast that contest. Also in District 5 last week, this was the game that essentially was going to decide the district title. Snake River and Marsh Valley. Panthers win pretty convincingly, 35-14. Marsh Valley is a year away. They're a very young team. They've got a lot of promising sophomores. They're just, to me, they're a year away, but they're going to be good.
Yeah, that's a good team. They played hard opponents all year, and you just hear Marsh Valley in every sport this year. Every fall sport, you kind of hear a Marsh Valley, involved in all of it, and I think you're right. I think maybe they're just a year away.
Yep, for sure. And Snake River, Jeff Daly is back as the head coach. He's led them to prominence in the past, including state championships. So, watch out for Snake River. They always seem to just be such a fundamentally sound team. I would not want to play Snake River at Snake River in the playoffs at Tom Harrison Field. That's a tough place to go get a win. So, but that's what's in store for them. If they can beat American Falls to close it out here, they get a top 5 seed for being a district champion. So we'll keep an eye on that, certainly. Let's take a look at the 2A. Man, the big story here, Sean. I'll admit, we haven't given this team enough love, and they kind of have demanded it now. Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Whoa, shutting out North. Oh, go ahead.
Brody Beck, right? Do you remember A year ago, our first game we went and broadcast of the year was Brody Beck in Aberdeen. We'd never been there, and I thought, man, this guy's a player, and he got injured, and they'd had some hard times. But yeah, Aberdeen, we've probably not given Aberdeen enough credit this year. And I'm looking at their schedule now, and they beat Declo 18-12. They lost to South Fremont, which we know now is a very good team. It was very close, 14-21. They beat Soda, they beat Malad, and then this past week they took down, North Fremont was undefeated, and they beat them 24-0. And moving Brody Beck to the running back position has kind of changed the Aberdeen offense enough to make them just very dangerous.
Yeah, Aberdeen did to North Fremont what North Fremont usually does to everybody else, where they pounded the rock, controlled the line of scrimmage, controlled the clock, and played really good defense. I was so impressed. I went back and watched the film a little bit from this win by Aberdeen. They've got a new coach this year, Braden Driscoll. He's done a fantastic job with the Tigers. And now they finished the year with Bear Lake and Westside, right? So
yep.
We'll find out, where Aberdeen slots in the pecking order, but all three of those teams are going to make the playoffs. And honestly, kind of like we talked about in the 4A ranks, where District 6 is so strong that a lot of teams are going to, like Soda Springs right now has a good chance of being the last team in, just because of the strength of the conference. So
yeah, Soda Springs hasn't played a bad team all year. So
no, that strength of schedule is really helping the Cardinals out for sure. So, Bear Lake still in the driver's seat because they did beat Westside. But we could see a three-way tie. We could see Bear Lake win it outright. We could see Aberdeen win it outright. Westside cannot win it outright, like we said, because they lost to Bear Lake. But Westside did beat Declo in a non-conference matchup, 21-6. Like you said, Aberdeen beat Declo this year, 18-12. I mean, all three of these teams are so even, and they all do the same things. They run the ball exceptionally well. They play great defense.
Yeah, and Declo's like that too, right? Declo's a good running team, and we saw Declo last year in the playoffs, and so that's a good comparison. And Westside has done it the best out of all the teams, but you've got some good teams just chomping at the bits. And this division, this 2A division, man, that state playoff is going to be. There's not going to be a bad game. You're not going to be like, oh, this game, this team's not that great. There's going to be a good game every lineup there.
Definitely. Aberdeen is at Westside on Friday night. That'll be the big game we'll be keeping an eye on. I'm lobbying, Sean, for us to get as many 2A playoff games as we can when it's time to broadcast the postseason, because I think it's going to be wide open. Every matchup's going to be phenomenal. And for North Fremont, they did suffer the loss. It is out of conference, and so now their most important game of the season is this Friday. They're at Firth in a game that will decide the nuclear conference crown. They're both undefeated in conference play. They always play each other extremely tight. A top 5 seed is on the line here between North Fremont and Firth.
Yeah, and Firth, and that's another team. Firth kind of gets lost in the mix. And if you look all the way back at week 1, North Fremont beats Bear Lake 24-22. So man, these games are going to be these last 2 weeks for some of these 2A conferences. I mean, even if you lose though, right, you're probably still in the playoffs, and it's hopefully it's the matchup you get in that bracket, but a lot of good games.
And again, the caveat is that the 2A football committee has the discretion in the first round to adjust the matchups. They're going to seed it according to max preps. But if there's like really extensive travel for one team, or if there's a matchup of 2 district opponents, they have the discretion to tweak the matchups. So again, that's kind of the one big wild card is how will they tweak the matchups if they need to? It's going to be very interesting. It could give us some very competitive first round games. So we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out. I could easily see a District 6 playing a District 5 right away in the opening round of the playoffs.
That was kind of eliminate, because what would happen sometimes, these smaller schools would have to go, either have to travel all the way up north or all the way down and some of the smaller schools, the cost of that is kind of crucial. So I think a good way to do it.
It happened last year. Grangeville had to come down to play Westside. Second year in a row, they had to come down to play Westside in the quarterfinals. If they had won that game, they would have had to have traveled to Bear Lake the next week. And their coach told me, he's like, I got to be honest. If we somehow win this game today, we don't have the money to come back to Southeast Idaho next week. He's like, we just don't have the money for that. I don't know what we're going to do. It's
farther than traveling to like a state, right? You're almost going like 2 states away from some of that northern travel away. But yeah. I kind of like that. I kind of like being able to do that. You know, everything's got its plus and minuses.
Definitely. 1A D1, not much to talk about. Butte County Grace are going to meet in 2 weeks, not this Friday, but next Friday. That will decide the conference title. Both teams easily into the playoffs. Both are so good. We are going to be showcasing Butte County on Friday night on IdahoSports.com as the Pirates host Raft River in a very interesting non-conference matchup. These are a pair of top 5 teams, so that's going to be a good 8-man broadcast for you Friday night on IdahoSports.com. Friendly reminder, if you want to see all the games that we're broadcasting, just click on the Game Streams tab on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. And then in the 1A D2 rank, Sean, the big first domino fell where North Gem, Water Springs, Rockland are all in this, District 5-6. And I can't make heads or tails of it. All 3 teams have looked good at times this year. All 3 teams have looked shaky at times this year. First domino falls last Friday as Water Springs shuts out North Gem pretty convincingly by a final score of 42-0. Now Water Springs plays Rockland on Friday. If Water Springs wins that game, the Warriors win the conference. There are 2 bids from this district available at state. So if Water Springs wins, they win the district, and then Rockland and North Gem would play on the 21st, and basically winner goes to the playoffs. If Rockland were to win, then it flips where Rockland could win the title outright with a win over North Gem, or, if North Gem beat Rockland, then you've got a 3-way tie for first. So
we don't want to go there.
So North Gem is going to be cheering for Rockland this week, and then they're going to be, cheering for themselves to take out Rockland in the regular season finale. Very confusing. I will say Drew Plocker, probably the most unheralded athlete in the state of Idaho. He plays for Water Springs. He doesn't get enough acclaim, statewide when people are talking about versatile athletes. He had over 1,000 yards rushing on the season, like 4 games in, Sean. I mean, it's just insane. He plays quarterback. He's a great defensive back as well. I think that's where he could really, play college ball, is in the defensive secondary. But look at this stat line. Drew Plocker rushed for 349 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had 9 tackles on defense, and he had a pick 6.
That's the guy you want on your fantasy team. He wins it for you that week. But yeah, what a unbelievable stat line. Yeah, wow.
He had 1,000 yards.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, that's just good. How does it get better?
He was the first guy in the state to get to 1,000 yards this year. He did it in like 4 games. That's insane. I mean, that's just
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. So yeah, Water Springs will play Rockland on Friday afternoon. Should be a fantastic battle. All right, we went super long, but that's because we had a lot to talk about. Next week's episode will be shorter because we're not going to talk any soccer. We'll just let the state soccer preview take care of that. So it's going to be kind of football, volleyball next week. Sean, that sound all right?
I can do it.
Okay.
I believe in myself.
That's right. Believe in yourself. Good luck to all the teams competing this weekend, everybody. Enjoy the competitions, and thanks for tuning into the East Idaho Prepcast. For Sean Kane, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.